A very warm touch select to all my students out there. Now in this video clip, we'll be starting with the new chapter, that is chapter number 3, and the name of your chapter is New Centers of Power. Now before we move on, let us look at your syllabus. CBSE has made certain changes in this chapter. So here, this is the name of your old chapter and they've changed it into New Centers of Power. Earlier it was Alternative Centers of Power. If you look at the contents over here, you can see that India's changing relations with China, they've removed it. And SARC was earlier in the contemporary South Asia. Now they have moved it in this chapter. They've also added BRICS. And from the individual nations, they've added Russia. China was already there in the old syllabus. They've also added Israel and, of course, India. All right, so we'll be doing each in detail. Now, in order to understand this chapter, we need to go back to history. All right. Now, after Second World War, with the collapse of the Soviet Union or the USSR, US became the superpower, right? And since then, we have been facing the US hegemony. But then the question is, how far will US remain as a superpower? Are there any regional corporations, or in other words, communities of countries, or let's say individual countries who could compete United States and act as a new center of power? So in this chapter, we'll be learning few regional corporations and few individual countries who could be a new center of power. All right, so we're going to cover European Union. These are the regional corporations: European Union, then ASEAN, SARC, and BRICS. Of course, I said this is a new topic which has been added in your syllabus. Now, from the individual nations, we're going to do China, which was already in your old syllabus, and then Russia, Israel, and India, which they have added new. Okay. Now, the first question is, what are the objectives of establishing regional organizations, or why are regional organizations formed? What are the reasons for different countries to come together and form an organization? All right. So the reasons are, first, develop regional cooperation. Now, the main reason of creating these regional organizations are for regional cooperation. Okay, they do so that this will create a brotherhood feeling amongst the member states, right? Now, the second reason is to create a balance of power in international politics. When you become a member of a regional corporation, you enjoy equal respect as a member of that corporation, and other countries do not dominate you as well. So, in a way, it creates a balance of power in international politics. And the third reason is to promote regional stability, not only regional stability, but also peace, which is based on rule of law. All right. And fourth reason we have is to create collective security for their member states. Now, this is done so because when you have collective security, it is not only less expensive, but more effective. So this has got a whole lot of advantage. And finally, of course, economic growth. Now, one of the sole aim for the formation of regional organizations is for economic growth, because we all know that in order to develop a country, you need to develop your economy. All right. After having understood the reasons for the formation of these regional organizations, let us do European Union first as a new center of power. Now, in order to understand this, we need to go back to history again. Now, after Second World War, we all know that the Western countries were fully devastated, especially in terms of economy. So now, in order to improve their country, they've got only two options before them. The first one was either to go back to the old system of rivalry, or adopt friendship, or maybe cooperate between one another. And they knew that in order to improve in order to develop their country, the only way is cooperation. And this cooperation led to the formation of European Union. All right. So, European Union. Now, what is European Union? European Union is an economic and political union of 27 countries. So there are 27 countries in this corporation, all right? Now, why was European Union established? Again, we have to go back to the history, and I've already told you a little bit about this in the earlier slide. Now, after Second World War, these European countries were economically devastated because of the two world wars, right? Now, in order to improve their economy, the only option they had was European integration or cooperation between these countries, because they cannot go back to war. If they go back to war, then they're going to go back in the same old situation of economic devastation. Okay, so they adopted the European integration, the European cooperation, and this led to European integration. And what helped towards this integration was the Marshall Plan. Now, what is Marshall Plan? We've already done this in our first chapter. Now, Marshall Plan was a plan started by United States of America, and under this plan, US gave economic aid to those European countries which were devastated by the Second World War. All right, and this was done so as to spread their ideology and also to attract these countries so that they can get more allies, because there was this Cold War competition going on between the United States and USSR. Right? So this Marshall Plan attracted many of the European countries to United States, and in order to bind these countries together, they later formed NATO. We'll now talk about the formation of European Union. Now, we know that United States extended massive economic aid under the Marshall Plan, right? And this Marshall Plan, it actually led to the formation of OEEC, that is the Organization for European Economic Cooperation. Now, the main aim of OEEC was to look after or to supervise the distribution of aid that was being given by the United States to those European countries. And then in 1949, Council of Europe was formed just so as to give a political dimension to this council. And then we have 1951, in which Treaty of Paris was signed. Now, this treaty, that is the European Coal and Steel Community, was the joint management of France and West Germany, which was later signed by 6 West European countries. And of course, in 1957, we have the Treaties of Rome, which led to the formation of the European Economic Community and the European Atomic Energy Community, also known as Euratom. All right. Now, the main objective of the EEC, or the European Economic Community, was to create or to establish a common market. And now, this treaty resulted in the free flow of goods, man, and capital from one country to another. It also abolished all tariffs, that is, import and export duties within the member states. All right, and the Euratom was established for the purpose of developing peaceful applications of atomic energy. Now, later, European Parliament was also formed, but until the formation, until here, we're just talking about the process of the creation of EU. It was only after the Maastricht Treaty that European Union was formally formed. All right. Now, after 1991, with the disintegration of USSR, we know that so many independent countries came up. So, during that time, the need for a broader European cooperation was felt. Okay, because of that, in 1992, the European Community Ministers, the finance ministers of the European Community, they met in Maastricht, which is in Netherlands, and the Treaty of European Union was signed. However, it formally took the shape of European Union only in 1993, and that's how European Union was formed. All right. Now, European Union, at the beginning, we know that it was founded by 6 members, which you can clearly see in this slide. And as of this year, we have 27 countries in the European Union. All right. Now we must also know that United Kingdom withdrew from European Union on January 31st, 2020. European Union, they have their own flag, they have their own European anthem, Europe Day, as well as a motto that is United in Diversity. If we talk about the foundation of European Union, then they have common foreign and security policy. They also have cooperation on justice and home affairs, and they have created a single currency that is euro, which we are going to talk more about this later. All right. Now, talking about the aims and objectives of European Union, we have to develop the regional cooperation, promotion of regional peace and stability, creation of collective security for the member states, and acceleration of economic growth. Now, these are the same aims and objectives of the regional cooperation. So you can give the same explanation over here. We then have creation of common market. Now, one of the main aims of European Union was to create a common market and remove all the trade barriers. Here we are talking about removing all tariffs. Okay, and they also aim to safeguard economic interest of all the member states and to create a common currency for all the member states. Here we are talking about euro currency. All right, and finally, the aim is also to foster democracy and political union in place of war. Then we are going to talk about the influence of European Union, or the reasons why we are saying that EU can be a center of power, all right, or a new center of power. And the reasons are economic, diplomatic and political, and military. So we're going to talk the influence of European Union, or the strength of European Union, from these 3 points. The first one is the economic. Now, as of 2016, European Union is the second largest economy in the world. All right. And second point we have is European Union's currency, that is the euro, is a huge threat to the hegemony of United States dollar, because if you look at the exchange rate, most of the times euro's exchange rate is much higher than the dollar. Third one we have here is European Union's share of world trade is 3 times bigger than that of United States. Okay, and then European Union, being economically strong and influential, it has a huge influence on Asia and Africa. And it also plays an important role in the International Economic Organization because it is an important economic bloc. Now, from the diplomatic and political point of view, EU also has a huge influence on world politics. European Union has actively been involved in international politics since 1970s. For example, in 1979, when Soviet Union attacked Afghanistan, European Union at that time imposed economic sanctions against the Soviet Union. Okay? And the second one we have is important. European Union also has important positions in the United Nations. Now we know that in the United Nations there are 5 permanent members and 10 non-permanent members. Now out of the 5 permanent members, 2 of its members, that is France and Britain, belong to European Union. However, with the withdrawal of Britain from European Union on January 31st to 2020, France is only left as a permanent member of the EU in the United Nations Security Council. Okay, now out of the 10 non-permanent members, 7 of the members belong to European Union. So this enables European Union to influence world politics. Okay. Third reason is they also raise voice against unfair actions. Now, one of the example would be when United States, when they waged war on Iraq in 2003, France and Germany opposed United Nations action against this war. So this shows that the leading powers in Europe, that is the Britain, France, and the EU members, they never miss any opportunity to raise their voice independently of the other. Okay, and finally we have the economic investments, negotiations and diplomacy is much better than military force. For example, the way they deal with China on issues of human rights and environmental degradation is way better than its use of military force or coercion. Okay, so finally we'll talk from the military point of view. Now, in terms of military, European Union has the second largest armed forces. Its defense budget is also second after United States, and it also has the second largest source of space and communication technology. And in terms of arsenal, it also has highly advanced arsenals, and we can also talk from the France point of view, because France is a nuclear power state. Okay. Now, EU also has weaknesses. For example, EU failed in adopting a common constitution. The euro currency is not adopted by every member states. Out of 27 member states, only 19 members they have adopted the euro, and there are 6 non-EU members who have adopted the euro currency. All right. And in terms of Schengen, or the free border policy, again it is not agreed by every member state. For example, only 26 members of European Union, they have accepted the Schengen, and there are again 4 non-European Union members who have accepted this Schengen policy. So you can see that there are so many reservations in European Union. For example, the euro currency and the Schengen policy are not being accepted by few of the European nations, and this act as a weakness. All right, and we also have the doubts on integrationist agenda. Now, the members of European Union has doubts on integrationist agenda. For example, one of the issue is the migration problem that is caused by the recent Arab Spring. We have already discussed this in our earlier chapter. Now, because of this Arab Spring, there are so many migrations that are happening. Now, so many people are migrating into these European countries, and because of the Schengen, it is creating a huge problem to some of the nations, and because of which they are not so happy. Okay. All right, so this is all about European Union. I hope you have understood about the formation of European Union and why it is a possible new center of power. So until I upload my next video on ASEAN, you guys take care and stay safe. Okay, bye-bye.